Welcome to the BP Fallon Orchestra. This evening we have here as our special guests probably the most controversial group in the groovy world of pop and roll, the Pogues. And not only are they here in all their glory and their ever-expanding numbers, but we also have an ever-expanding audience of about some 40 people. And we're hoping that the audience are going to join in our little BPFO outing tonight as we pogue out. But first of all, what we're going to do, for those of you who are not familiar with the music, we're going to play two pieces of music by the Pogues. And first off, it's a song written by Shane MacGowan. And then we follow with another song you're probably even more familiar with. So first of all, we're going to play The Sick Bed of Cuchulainn and then Dirty Old Town. There you are, folks. That's the Pogues and Dirty Old Town, the Ewan MacColl song, which is their current single, but also can be found on their current album, Rum, Sodomy and the Lash. And I might as well start this off, actually. The first question is really, a lot of people have been sort of wondering where the title of the album comes, Rum, Sodomy and the Lash. From whence does it originate?
Winston Churchill.
Give us the context of that there now.
It's this description of...
that spider over there in the corner, folks, is the tin whistle player. I interrupted you. Do you want to start again?
What?
Sorry. What did you say?
It's this description of it's how the Royal Navy was run, what it ran on.
He was actually asked what he thought of Royal Naval tradition, and his answer was rum, sodomy and the lash.
If you reckon that, if you figured out that was an Irish voice there, indeed you're absolutely correct. 100 points. That gentleman there, that gentleman there is Frank Murray, who is the manager of the Pogues, and he's an Irish gentleman. Frank, maybe you'd be kind enough to tell us your sort of your rock and roll history up to now.
That was quick.
Well, I wouldn't like to tell you that anyway. I don't think there's any bearing on what's going on here tonight. So I think we could.
Well, it probably does actually. I mean, I'm going to force this issue if I may, or even if I may not. I mean, tell us what you've been
involved in. I left Dublin 18 years ago and I went off to work with a band called Skid Row as a roadie. I went on to work with bands like Dr. Strangely Strange, the Woods Band, Thin Lizzy as a tour manager. You know, I went on to the Commodores. Blue Oysters, lots of people anyway that are big acts, blah blah blah, and all that kind of stuff.
Now he's a skiing.
Then I took up management by managing a lady called Kirsty MacColl, who happens to be Ewan MacColl's daughter, who wrote Dirty Old Town. And then I met up with the Pogues really through Ted Carroll, another Dubliner who lives in London, and Philip Chevron, who's now playing with the Pogues. And between the two of them, they took me along to see various Pogues gigs.
Who says the Irish Raffia doesn't exist?
And that was it. So
he stood there with his mouth open.
We were anarchists.
But I mean, the thing about the band, I mean, the Pogues, it started off with 5 gentlemen and 1 lady, and now we have 6 in the band with the addition of Philip Chevron, and there is another Irishman, 7 I should say. My maths is not very good.
8 actually. 8.
Well, I was just about to come to that actually, Shane. There's another gentleman lurking here, Terry Woods. Terry, who was known for a whole lot of adventures like the Woods Band and before that Sweeney's Men. Maybe you'd be kind enough, Terry, to actually tell us why you're gracing this the orchestra pit with your presence here.
We pay him.
He's a taxless.
Frankly, I think the band's great. Simple as that.
Rumour has had it that you are actually going to join this folkabilly combo.
Rumour is wrong.
No, you're not.
I haven't been asked.
Your name's down on the bloody itinerary.
Oh, I'm a Poguean.
So I'd like a round of applause, actually. Well, let's welcome Terry Woods into the Pogues, please. Well, he is now. That's very, very simply settled that.
We haven't got him back to the hotel yet, well,
coming over to Ireland, I mean, there have been sort of insinuations that it's really a cold to Newcastle situation, that the music you play coming over here, that I mean, some people actually think it's a bit odd, some people even go as far as to be rather annoyed about it. How do you feel coming over to Ireland? I mean, do you feel kind of... maybe a bit more vulnerable coming over here? I mean, what do you think of that Shane MacGowan there cackling?
I don't know, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition to do that, you know. It's just like, you know.
What?
I mean, do you take the point? I mean, in the same way that some people stupidly said that like a band like the Rolling Stones shouldn't go to America and play Chuck Berry songs or something.
But they were right about that. You know what I mean?
I mean, how much kind of this thing has been thrown around an awful lot about sort of the Pogues are a London Irish group. I mean,
well, some of us are, yeah.
How many of you actually have an Irish blood in you? I mean, even a little weeny bit.
All 15.
That's that question answered. All right. I mean, do you kind of listen to that's Terry Woods cackling there. Do you listen to Irish music at all? I mean, people like Moving Hearts and Clannad and that kind of thing.
Well, I'm not sure if Moving Hearts are Irish music, generally speaking.
How would you describe them as?
The last album, anyway.
What would you regard them as?
No, but I mean, if you took it, I mean, like, what we're supposed to be, like, it depends if you mean Irish music played by people who've lived all their lives in Ireland, you know, or Irish music as some kind of, you know, sort of ideal of what the Irish tradition of music is, or whatever, you know. Like, if it's the second thing, then it wouldn't count Moving Hearts, you know what I mean? If it's the first thing, obviously they're an Irish band, you know what I mean? You know, like, in Finland and Germany, they don't know, you know, it doesn't make any difference whether you're Irish or not, you know. It's just because, like, I just don't understand what's so surprising about a group.
Do you think that
playing what we're playing? I don't understand why people are so confused by it, you know.
Well, do you think that's overplayed, then, that whole sort of, that criticism?
All the labels that have been put on it are overplayed. The Irish labels that the
Yeah, we never tried to be. We never intended to be an
the
Irish
sort of that the English papers and stuff quite often put on us. You know, that sort of.
The Rocky O'Reilly
from a patio, that sort of shit. Whoops. But like, and the drink label and all the rest of it, you know. I mean, they're all labels and they don't really have any relation to the truth.
But Rocky O'Riordan, the bass player, you were saying a while back at the beginning of the year that you did a gig actually at one point where you actually billed as coming from Ireland.
Yeah, but that was in Scunthorpe. What do you expect?
Is there anybody here who thinks that the Pogues not being sort of thoroughbred paddy power should not actually play Irish music, that they actually regard them
we
as...
We don't play Irish music, really. I mean, we do play Irish,
you do,
but I mean, we don't exclusively play Irish music. That's the main sort of...
Yes, but I mean, the roots of it are certainly embedded in a lot of Irish traditional music.
Where are your roots embedded?
Mine? Falling out rapidly, sir. Noel Hill, I mean, you're an accordion player, a traditional musician with a lot of credence. I mean, what do you think of the Pogues?
No, I'm not an accordion player. I'm a concertina player.
Oh, concertina player. Well, the squeeze box. Okay.
Yes, concertina player. I wondered, did any of the Pogues ever listen to Seamus Ennis, or even hear of him? Yeah. And what did you think of Seamus Ennis? Would you regard the music that is now being labelled Irish music, or some people talking about Irish music, and that of the music of Seamus Ennis? Would you think there's any resemblance between the two?
What, are you talking about Brendan Shine or what?
Oh, Brendan Shine, absolutely no, I'm talking about Seamus Ennis.
No, but I mean, what you're talking about, you said about the Irish music that...
No, we've heard, the word Irish music has been thrown around there. When I think of Irish music as an Irish traditional musician playing music full time,
what you're asking us is if we see a resemblance between what you consider Irish music and Seamus Ennis, which we can't answer because we don't.
Yeah, we don't.
We had 2 hours to sit.
We don't consider ourselves as playing Irish music in the way that you mean Irish music anyway. Well, there are but 4 of you talking.
Yeah, hold on a minute, Spider. Do you?
Well, it's just like, we don't consider ourselves playing Irish music in the way that Seamus Ennis plays Irish music. We were never trying to be like a traditional Irish band. That's not what we're about at all. It's we're a fusion of lots of different things. One of the probably the major influence is Irish music, but that's still an influence. It's not what we. But where play. Is that Irish music rooted? Where would you?
What's the difference between the Clancy brothers and Seamus Ennis? Are they both Irish music?
What, the Clancy brothers are American music,
What are the Clancy brothers and the Dubliners or they Down or people like those bands? What's the difference between them and Seamus Ennis? Seamus Ennis was a great Irish traditional player.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And people in this country have, if you're a piper or a whistler or a flute player, it's passed down from father to son, through generation and generation, right? None of these people have that privilege.
Yeah.
To be brought up and thought, well, listen, son, I'm going to teach you the pipes, and I'm going to teach you how to play the tin whistle or the violin. Right? None of these people have that thing. So, when you talk about Seamus Ennis, we are not in that category. We never want to be in that category, and we never wanted to be in it.
I know,
so Tell me about the
it's just
Clancy
a word,
Brothers or
Irish
Clancy
music.
or some of those people. Are they Irish music, or is it just Seamus Ennis that is Irish music and Sean O'Reilly and the Chieftains? Yeah. What is? You tell us what Irish music is.
When I read things about the Pogues and saying the hottest band in Irish music.
Yes, well,
we don't say that. We don't say that.
That's what the press say. The press misconstrue everything.
We don't say that. We don't say that.
So any of you don't claim to be Irish musicians then?
I'm not
playing Irish music.
I'm not Irish.
Yeah.
And I've never claimed
because
the press is always saying that.
The thing is, you'll have Brendan Shine, you'll have all the people like the Dubliners and the Clancy Brothers and all of those people with the Irish music label. And it's the most bastardized of all the music in this country. But this music that came out of, we'll say, 20 years ago, out of pubs in Dublin, rowdy music, ballad music, came out of drunken sessions and that. Being labelled Irish music is a terrible abortion of the word. Well, it's a terrible, terrible abortion of the word.
Well, you can't stick to listen to Seamus Ennis.
I am.
Well, I tell you, folks, what we'll do, we've got a whole... I'll tell you, a little pause now, folks, while we're sort of...
Had a drink.
Hold on a minute, Frank. What we're going to do, a little pause now while we're sort of meditating on that. A lot of hands coming up. I'll come to you in a second. We're going to hear the Pogues now and the Dingle Regatta. There you are, folks. That's the Pogues and Dingle Regatta. And if you just tuned in and you're wondering what this anarchy is here in the BPFO, we have the Pogues here and an audience of some 40 people. Sammy Smith, Sammy Smith from the Sunday World, you wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, I'm just saying the boys are sitting here. They're in Dublin. They're after singing Irish songs and songs about Ireland. They pay money to publicists who plug their Irishism and Irish antecedents. Then they complain about being described as an Irish band. Why?
I think you're mistaken, actually.
Yeah,
you're saying some of the songs are traditional Irish songs, but they're not all. Aside from those, they're not all songs about being Irish. That's your own interpretation.
Well, even
we don't, you know, we
like Green and Wellfish is in English.
Yeah,
you know, as a matter of fact. I mean,
Dirty Old Town was written by you and Scottish.
The band played Waltzing Matilda was written by an Australian Scot.
We haven't also.
They might
to get this straight.
Just a sec, Frank. Hold on. Go on, Sammy.
We have not paid anybody to publicise our Irishness. People in England heard the music we were playing and they decided that we were Irish.
Yeah,
that's right.
They decided because of the music that's gone through, and the English press decided on that.
We've always been at pains to point out that half the band are not Irish and have no Irish no Irish whatsoever.
Well, the publicity material left on the seats here this evening specifically points out your Irishness, your Irishisms, and the fact that you're Irish songs.
Do you believe everything you read, or do you believe everything you
write? Well, it was provided by you, obviously. No, I shouldn't.
We didn't provide any of that, Sammy.
Anyway, Joe Ambrose, you had a point to make.
Yeah, there's a very sort of reverential and nationalistic point coming out from people you mightn't ordinarily expect that to come from about the Pogues. You take an artist like Seamus Ennis, who was presented to us like an icon a minute ago. I mean, most of the time you ever saw him on television, he was either drunk or deadly boring. And to accuse these people of being into drink is a bit silly in the context. This attitude towards folk music.
Well, hold on a minute, Joe. I haven't accused them of being into drink.
No, but I mean to turn around and call ballad singers rowdies who hang around in pubs, and to regard Seamus Ennis, who was a lot drunker on television than the Dubliners probably ever were on television in their whole life, is a bit thick, and it's a very nationalistic thing. I mean, it said that folk music is the background to us being a proud independent nation. Whereas if you come from a place like Tipperary, which is where the Clancys come from, you'd probably regard folk music as being more suitable for molesting sheep to or something like that. And the Pogues reflect elements of sordidity and earthiness and poverty and things like that, which are much more interesting and which have nothing to do with being Irish or English or American. They've got to do with the way people lead their lives. And I don't think the band play up being Irish any more than the fact that some of them are into Irish music.
I just would like to say, from my experience in 20 years in the music industry and having been associated with a fair bit of success, I think they're a great band, and I think they have a magnificent future. As far as I'm concerned, they're opening up a big market, and I only hope that other people can follow in their footsteps. And what I've heard so far, I got shades of Luke Kelly, and he was one of the greats as far as I was concerned. I think as far as I'm concerned that they need the Irish people are inclined to look at themselves, and they're inclined to criticise far too much instead of getting up off their backside and getting out and doing it. This group have done it, as far as I'm concerned, are going to do greater things, and this is what I like about them in particular, as well as loving what I've heard already.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
I'd like to actually point out that Tony Cassidy manages Foster and Lennon, and I believe, Shane, you listened to them a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's just, they used to play at high school Kennedy's in Pecan in Tipperary, and like sort of small place, reasonably small, you know.
That's correct, and
I went to see him a few times. Yeah.
That's correct. They did 6,500 in Sydney for last concert. I only hope that you can be half as successful over the next 10 as they have over the last.
We hope so too.
I wish you the very best.
Tony Cassidy, you're absolutely incorrigible. Well, after that little commercial there about 6,500.
If you ever want any new tunes, you know where to come to.
There you go, folks. All right, we have a musical break now. Steady on. Musical break, folks. Tony, steady on. We're going to now listen to Rocky O'Riordan making her Pogues singing debut, and this is I'm a Man You Don't Meet Every Day. That's A Man You Don't Meet Every Day, sung by Rocky O'Riordan, the Pogues bass player. Gentleman over there at the back of the audience.
Yeah, my name is Pat Welsh. Just from what they were saying before there's a line in A Pair of Brown Eyes where he says about Ray and Phil singing of My Elusive Dreams. Well, that's Ray Lynham and Finnimila Begley. Well, I can accept that. But I have a quotation here from Shane. He said, I'd rather have Brendan Shine than the Thompson Twins. I'd rather have Foster and Allen than Howard Jones and Nick Kershaw or the Eurythmics. Well, Ray Lynham and Philomena Begley is one thing, but Foster and Allen and Brendan Shine, they're the worst aspects of Irish music. Brendan Shine is their own shawadi-wadi. Yeah. Foster and Allen are what Renee and Renato probably you'd be best
I wasn't actually comparing them to Irish music because to the rest of Irish music. What I was saying was in the English charts, right?
Yeah.
And like there is something like I happen to like Brendan Shine and Foster and Allen, right? I also like
Well, it's kind of hard for us to accept that.
If you want to be a snob, but whatever you want.
No, they are awful.
But,
I mean, you can't say what's different.
I was saying that if you're going to have pap, right?
Yeah.
That's the kind of pap he wants.
Right? That's
fair enough.
I'm saying that it's pap, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think Foster and Brendan Shine are pap because.
Yeah.
But that's what you're saying there, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're pap because I think they appeal to something within anybody who's prepared to be be unpretentious and not be afraid of being sentimental or passionate or whatever, angry, sad, happy, whatever. You know what I mean?
But is it drinks?
Like if you want to categorize music by its respectability, then. We have to. We hear it on the radio here every day. You want to listen to Beethoven the rest of your life?
No. We hear Brendan Shine on the radio every day. I'd sooner hear the Pogues any day on the radio.
But anyway, all I was saying, right, was that like in the English charts, you have Howard Jones.
Yeah, I accept that as well.
So is Nick Kershaw and so are the other people I mentioned, right? Yeah. And I'd rather listen. If I was stuck on a desert island, I had a choice between. Having a replay of a Foster and Allen track for the rest of, just continuously for the rest of my living days, and 1 hour of Nick Kershaw, I'd take the first one out.
Well, and also, I'd like to add to that. I'd like to add to that. I mean, you mentioned Ray and Philomena.
Yeah.
And I'd much rather hear their new single, which I think is really good, than the last effort by Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers.
Yeah,
there's still this element of snobbishness in Ireland, whereby, you know, if it's American country music, it must be good, and if it's Irish, it necessarily must be bad.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't think that's true.
It was the Foster and Allen that were getting to my nose. It wasn't.
Yeah, well, you did mention Ray and Philomena in the same breath.
The gentleman there would like to say something, sir.
Well, if you want to slag first around, why don't you go and do it to them, yeah?
Well, I wasn't really asking any question about the Pogues, actually, at the moment. I was just, Beep introed Pride of the Cross as being, oh no, sorry, hold on, go along around, as the track you just played there, as being O'Riordan's first vocal line.
First name. No, he said her first Pogues.
Sorry, ma'am.
He said her first Pogues.
Yeah, her first Pogue, I know, and she has her first vocal with the Pogues. But I was wondering about the Pride of the Cross project. Is that ongoing? Like, is there going to be anything else from that?
It's got nothing to do.
I know it hasn't, but just purely general information.
Maybe
you
actually,
can't tell me, can you not?
Rocky, you'd be kind enough to explain to people who may not know about Pride of the Cross, even if you're not madly into it, what that was about.
I thought it was a great project. What I heard from it, it was really nice stuff. I'm just wondering if you're doing anything more like that.
Thank you, no.
Oh, thank you very much.
Very succinct there. Gentleman at the back there.
Yeah, Jerry Rickard from Drogheda. I read recently that there was some controversy over the release of the Sally McLennan picture disc. Is that true, or what happened?
Controversy in what respect now?
They depicted a kind of the paddy whackery on the picture disc. I think a drunken Irishman in a wheelbarrow or something like that.
It was a pile of shit and we all hated it. That's the end of the story.
This art department unfortunately made a bit of a boo-boo.
There you go, folks. Gentleman over there at the back.
Michael Barrett of Dunleary. How did you get in contact with Elvis Costello, and where did the name the Pogues come from? How did you get the name the Pogues?
Well, it's originally we were called Pogue Mahone. No, I'm not going to say what that means, but everybody knows probably. But and then they didn't like that on the BBC, so if you don't get played on the BBC, you don't have much chance to get a hit single or whatever. So we shortened it to the Pogues. That's how that happened.
And we still haven't got anywhere with the BBC. so we're going to put it back to Pogue Mahone.
All right, folks, this is the Pogues or Pogue Mahone, and this is a pair of brown eyes. That's the Pogues there and a pair of brown eyes. Jack Costello.
Yeah, I just wanted to vent a bit of my anger at Noel Hill here before I engage the lads in a question. No, I think that people like Noel, I mean, a fine musician in his own field, you know, and I'm fairly familiar with his playing. But what I do feel is this terrible prejudice which this country is full with, you know, in all levels, like, which is causing a lot of problems in the northern part of our country as well, and we call it religion. We have the same sort of, we elevate everything in this country to the state of sanctity, you know, our national games, our national music, our national pride, everything like is sainthood and is inviolable and we can't touch it except we're a purist. And people like Sean O'Riordan, for instance, would never have got off the ground if Ceol Torry Coolan had their way. People like Donald Dunny, who is still frowned upon, Terry himself there, who would have been a victim of the same sort of regime, Terry Woods. Groups like Planksty, the Botty Band, I mean, people nearly turned in their graves, we were said, like the great traditional musicians at the thought of a guitar or a bouzouki being brought into Irish traditional music. The music in Ireland is strong enough to be played on electric basses, to be played on synthesizers, to be played on fiddles, to be played on flutes, whatever way you want to play it. If the music is strong enough, it can be used, abused, attacked. If it's strong enough, it'll survive everything. Now, we shouldn't have this kind of inferiority complex, which is probably goes down to our history of being a people who have lived under another people for 700 or 800 years. So we have this gross inferiority complex that if anybody touches our music, our religions, our games, they can never do it like we do it. You know, we're the ones that have to hold on to it. Now, this small-mindedness has really curtailed everything in this country. The things that have expanded Irish music in the world really are the people, the innovators who have taken it out of the little pubs down the country, who have broadened it, who have given it an international viewpoint. They take the chieftains going to China and playing Irish music on Chinese instruments and amalgamating Chinese music with Irish instruments. I mean, who down in Clare, you know, would agree with that. The orthodoxy of Ceoltóirí Cúlan, the only thing, or I should say, Comhaltas Ceoltóirí, the only thing that they seem to have managed to do in recent times is to get themselves into a huge state of indebtedness, building a building which they can't finance out in Dunleary. And they're and they're going around looking to everybody for money.
But hold on a minute, Jack Costello. Where does this your speech relate to the Pogues, or is this actually directed at Noel Hill?
Well, the point is that they're accused of playing Irish music. They play Irish music. Let's face it, they play it. Well, why should they be accused of playing it?
I've absolutely no problem at all with the word purist, or that word in music. The important point to emphasise is that we're talking about music played well and music played badly. Now, I mean, Jack went through a whole lot of things there, from Comhaltas Ceoltóirí through Sean O'Reilly, through inferiority complexes, through the Northern Irish problem. Where I am here to talk, I'm here to talk just about the music. I have no inferiority complex whatsoever. I have played in Planksty myself. I have no problems with the likes of Donald Nully.
You're just saying we're bad musicians.
Well, you have misrepresented me. You have misrepresented me. If you think I am, then you haven't heard what I'm saying. And it's very hard to hear anybody here. I'm just talking about music played well, played badly, played in between. I mean, if that is music, if the way the Dingle Regatta is played there is called music, to me, or what the Pogues are doing there, well, as Beethoven, he was right when he said, even deafness has got its moments, if that's the case.
Even what?
Even deafness has got its moments.
Just a second, Shane.
I can hardly hear
didn't get that. Even what is its moments?
I just said that Beethoven said even deafness has its moments, if you want to call that music.
Well, okay. Joe Ambrose.
Have you ever heard Beethoven playing piano?
Yeah, what I want to ask them about relates to this thing about them supposedly being out of tune, which I don't really care about. The first time I ever heard of Shane was when I heard he had his ear bitten off at a Clash gig. First of all, there's no sign of his ear being bitten off. I'd like to ask him about that. And secondly, I know at least two of the people in the band, Shane through the nipple erectors, who became the Nips, and Philip through the Radiators from Space, have very strong roots in the new wave and that whole revolution in music, which made redundant a whole lot of this nonsense about whether you can play your instrument nicely or anything like that. It's more important to play it with feeling and with intelligence than to play it in tune. And I think an awful lot of people who buy the Pogues albums would agree with that. I would just like to ask Shane and Philip in particular, and any of the rest of them who may have feelings about it, how their sound is influenced by the new wave, the 1977 wave of bands, which I think is as big an influence on what they're at as traditional Irish folk music.
What do you think about that, folks?
Well, it's you know, the fact that you not feeling intimidated about not necessarily being the most brilliant musician in the world for a start. Just thinking, right, you know, we can go up on stage and
top 2,000, yeah.
That Spider there, Philip Chevron. What's your? I mean, do you feel that punk thing is in the Pogues?
Well, I think it's got to be, because we all sort of came up through that era. I don't think it's particularly important, though. I mean, I just think we kept coming back to Seamus Ennis there. And I think what the point there was something that Shane was about to make earlier on, was that he didn't think about whether he was playing proper Irish music or not. He just played what he felt was the right thing to play, and that's all we do. We don't think, you know, whether it's come up through punk or whether it's come up through Irish music. We play what is Pogues music that comes up through all the things that have influenced us, you know, including punk music and including Irish music.
I think one point. Seamus Ennis, but his name has been really drawn out of all proportion here. I just brought his name up quickly. I didn't mean to have anybody slander him about his drunkenness on television.
No, just illustrating him as in answer to, I mean, something I'd wanted to say earlier when Shane was about to say it. It's just as good an example as anybody, that he didn't think cerebrally this is what Irish music is. He just played his music, you know.
Yeah. I think one point that should be cleared up, which maybe you're not quite clear about this, and there's a few other people who certainly aren't, but we do actually care a lot about what we're doing, and we love what we're doing, and we're doing it because that's what we want to do, and that's what we enjoy doing most, and we're working at it. And
you know what you can do.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks, we're going to play a song now which I unashamedly think is a mighty song, and I would really I'd like the writer of the song to, before we play, to actually explain it. It's the Old Main Drag. Shane, would you be kind enough to tell us what this song is about?
Oh, it's about Piccadilly.
All right, this is about Piccadilly. It's the Old Main Drag. That's the old main drag there from Rum, Sodomy and a Lash by the guy who's... shut up, Shane. By the guy I've just told to shut up. And that's from Rum, Sodomy and the Lash, as I said. Gentleman at the back there wants to do a bit of rabbit into the microphone.
I was just wondering, to the best of my knowledge, the Pogues have never gone to America. And American crowds have a habit of basing their opinion of a band on image mainly. So, how do you think
let the gentleman finish his question, Shane.
So how do you think they'll accept you? Do you think they'll accept you as a drunken Cayley band or as serious musicians, like?
Well, I mean, the point is that you know, you don't think that people in England and Ireland base their, you know, are basically thinking about images of bands.
But like the Americans are sort of notorious for basing their opinion of a band on image first, and then secondly, the music comes incidental to the image, more or less, you know.
Sure, yeah. I mean, that all depends for a start on how we're represented by the American media, if we're represented at all. You know,
the media, well, the point is, like, you know, the media creates images anyway, whether you want one or not. Yeah.
I mean,
so, like, it's just a question
angling
of whether
for a racist comment about America?
If we go to America, it's really up to. About 4 months ago, we went to Germany. Nobody had heard us there. Nobody had heard of the Pogues. They had a bit of filter from the English press. And we went and we sold out a tour there and we couldn't believe it, right? So we can't really say like the people there knew Irish music or anything about Irish music, right? We play like general rock clubs. Now, if we go to America, it's going to be the same thing. Someone's going to put up outside a club or put an ad in the paper saying the Pogues are playing tonight. So people are going to have to come and see the band. If they like them, they're going to come again and we're going to get a great reception. If they don't like them, I think they're a pile of shit. That's it.
Brian Trench from the Sunday Tribune.
Yeah, I was sorry to hear Frank saying just before the last record that they might be hassled in the States, like they were being hassled in Ireland. I don't think they're being hassled here. It seems to me that on a fairly random audience, they've got a lot of support here.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, one person was disagreeing with them on a basis of musicianship or whatever. And I presume that the band is strong enough to take that kind of criticism.
No, we're not. We're not.
I think I would like to say something to Brian for a second. When I said hassle, the reason we're here tonight and we're having the public have been invited is because people have been making jibes about the Pogues. You know, I mean, we've played quite a few places here. We've played the Kenmare Festival, and we had lots of traditionalists down there, and it was like greatest pile of bull I've ever heard in my life, blah blah. And it was a continuing thing, right? So we came here tonight because like something went on the Dave Fanning show on RTE, I believe, you know, a couple of weeks ago, when Philip King, who manages Daydonan, came up and decided to be vitriolic about the Pogues and was upset about the Pogues. Why, I don't know.
Where do you hope to go from here? What's your future success? Where you want
Heaven. We want to sell out Madison Square Gardens.
Well, here, and here's luck to you doing it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Joe Ambrose, final question of the BPFO Pogo.
It's really more of a statement than a question. We've been here for an awful long time now, with people talking more or less at the band, and really what we've discovered about them is that they have a terribly coherent and intelligent manager who is able to speak at length about where the band are coming from, where they're going to. And I know from talking to him last week that they also have Philip Chevron, a very intelligent and coherent person, and Shane is similarly a songwriter. But they've got in Rocky someone who has behaved like a pig here this evening, essentially. You know, she's been just bad-mannered. She's been defensive. She's been asked intelligent, coherent questions about her music, and she's just more or less chosen to say, "You're not my crowd of paddies. I don't give a tuppenny damn what you think." And it is an attitude which has coloured the whole evening as sort of an element of lack of communication from the band towards people. I mean, I know most of the people who rang in looking for free tickets to come here, more than likely, are phenomenal fans of the band, and I know that there are a group of media people here, most of whom have great respect and fascination about the band, and it's similar to what Brian has said, really, that has evolved over the evening a great sort of air of defensiveness which has absolutely no basis, in fact. Noel Hill's point about traditional Irish music is something which it is possible for them to deal with in a few sentences, the same as bands like Horselips in their time dealt with it by saying it's just not relevant. But they have failed to delve into other issues and to dig into them.
Just a second, but I think firstly, Rocky, I'd like you to answer Joe Ambrose's thing there.
Is that behaving like a pig enough for you?
It's in line with what you've done for the rest of the evening. You haven't been able to respond to another serious question.
Well, listen, you say I'm sitting here acting as if I'm talking to a room full of paddies. I have an Irish passport on it says I'm Irish.
I couldn't care less what you have, you know. I mean, there are people who are born and bred in Dublin who are racist in their attitudes towards Irish people.
Now you are behaving like a farmyard animal.
I'm not. I mean, give a detailed answer to why you more or less told everybody here to go F themselves, you know.
She didn't.
Well, that's not entirely true, Joe. Come on.
About a particular record, maybe she's ashamed of it. Who knows?
If
but
you remember, the
first
thing I said in answer to that question is the Pride of the Cross has nothing to do with the Pogues.
No, it's something to do with you. It was a legitimate question from a fan. It wasn't a question from someone who thought it was an atrociously bad record.
Okay, folks. Okay, folks. Tempest has fugitive. Time has run out, folks. Nearly 10 o'clock. So I'd like to thank. I'd like to sort of cosmic vibe there. I'd like to thank you all for coming. I'd like to thank everybody listening. I'd like to thank the Pogues and their manager Frank Murray. I'd like to thank myself. And finally, this is the Pogues now, and this is Wildcats of Kilkenny. God bless you.